All right. Before we start, Draymond's not going to be here today. He's got an excused personal absence, so he'll be here. We hope in the next few days. He's dealing with some personal stuff. So beyond that, you guys can start. Oh, go ahead. I can hear you, but I don't think it's on. Yeah. Sorry. I can hear you.
This is great television.
Yeah.
What is Andrew Wiggins' vaccination status, and do you expect him to be able to practice once the new rules come into effect?
Yeah, in regards to any specific individual's vaccination status, I'm not going to comment on that. It's personal, it's private. What I would say is that I'm optimistic come the first game here at Chase, we'll have a full complement of team as far as who's healthy and who isn't, and I'll just leave that at that.
Would it be tenable to only have him on road games, or would you have to look to different circumstances with the player?
Yeah, as far as hypotheticals, obviously the pandemic has provided a ton of them, and I've realized the best thing to do is deal with things as they come. So I'll stick with what I said to Dieter as far as my expectation and hope is that come our first game, we're all here, and we don't have to answer those kind of questions or deal with it. The microphone's not working, but I can hear you, and we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Steve Kerr is entering his 8th season as your head coach. What do you think about Steve's evolution as a leader? How do you make sure players keep listening to him? And I mentioned that because he says a few times players just hear that after a while.
Yeah.
How do you make sure the coaching staff and Steve has that connection before you guys continue to work together?
Yeah, Steve is. I think I'm correct, maybe the third longest tenured coach after Pop and Spoelstra. So I don't know what that says about the coaching profession, because you'd think 7, 8 years is not that long, but in our industry it seems to be. But I could speak on Steve's strengths for quite a long time. But what my favorite part, Kareth, and what I think his best skill is his leadership skills. And I think that comes from his life. I mean, his life experiences, what he's gone through personally, failures, successes, tragedy, 8 rings, all of those things make him somebody worth listening to. But I think my favorite part about Steve, and I think why people do listen to him, whether it's our players, obviously our fans, or anybody, is that he doesn't make it about him. And that's pretty rare, I think, in this day and age. He makes it about the team. And I think that's what players want to see, and I think they know that too. So, Steve's not chasing his first championship as a coach or a player. So he's doing it for them, and he's really good at it. And I've seen him grow. He started off as without any experience, and I think he's seen quite a bit now. Obviously, coaching in 5 finals, we had those teams. We had one of the worst teams a couple years ago. And now he's kind of navigated and seen all different sides of the NBA, and I think that type of experience just makes you better, and I think he would agree with that. But again, in this profession, you do see each other all the time. So my favorite part of Steve, selfishly, is just who he is, separate from basketball. That's my life. But from the standpoint of our fans and our team and our players, I think it's all the skills he's built up over his career, and they're pretty remarkable.
Hey, Bob. Anthony Flores with NBC Bay Area. With the uncertainty surrounding Andrew Wiggins being available to play in this building, how do you prepare the team with the possibility of not having one of your starters be available for half the games of your season?
Yeah, I don't get to that level, Anthony, because like I said previously, my belief, my thoughts are that we'll have the full team, and so not really preparing for anything different right now. Again, learning, sitting at this chair, I don't know what, 2020, February, not knowing if we were going to play a game before fans and whether we're going to have music. And last year, I don't think the hypothetical stuff doesn't serve me. I get why you got to ask. I get why people have to wonder, but we got to deal in reality now, and that's what we're doing each day. And like I said, I'm confident we'll have a full team.
Hey, Bob. Colin Ward-Henninger, CBS Sports. You've stated in the past that your goal is to contend for a championship while also building for the future. How do you think this offseason's moves kind of helped you do that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's always trying to get better. And I think some of our veteran additions, we think were great value additions with Iguodala, Bjelica, and Porter. We'll see what they become. We have good expectations for all three of them. And then we added the young guys we added, which we like, and we'll see what they can provide. And the answer of what they can do, I don't quite know yet. Got to see them in camp. But we think, when healthy, we have a pretty good team. But that when healthy part, I guess it applies to every team, but we haven't gotten to see that, and it's not an excuse. We just got to see how good we are or not with our full team. And then we can answer what's right or wrong with the roster. But the hardest part about evaluating it and wondering about what it's going to be is not kind of seeing the full complement of it yet. So maybe it doesn't serve your question, but at the end of the year, I'll answer it, and you'll maybe not even need me to tell you. But I like the blend. I like the blend of the veterans that we added and the youth that we added as well.
Hi, Bob. Rusty Simmons from the Chronicle. How are you guys, I know it's the first day of training camp, but how are you guys approaching the 15th roster spot right now?
Yeah, the 15th spot is something that will probably be decided in camp. We've done that before with guys like Juan Toscano and Mulder, and even JaVale a few years back came in on a non-guaranteed. So we like the guys that are going to compete for it, Rusty. We like the group that came in with Bradley and obviously Mulder and you know, Peyton and Galloway. And so we think it's going to be a competitive camp. And then we have to decide, do we fill that spot or not? Because it's not, no, it's nobody's, the financial part matters to us, and it's another addition to what is already the biggest payroll in the league. So if we're going to add a 15th, I think we would have to have a pretty good reason to do it. But we've done it before, and if that's what we want to do, we will.
James, it sounds like you guys won't even clear him to practice until at least October 15th. If he is, you know, cleared around that timeline, how long do you think it might take him to be ready to actually play in games?
Yeah, James is, I think, was written and said by us, full kind of release to do anything October 15th. And so that's a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks. Then it'll be how fast does he get up to speed as far as having not played in so long. And I can't really tell you when that'll be. I don't think we'll rush it. Same with Clay. Different injuries, different time off, but it's hard to know how long it takes for a player to get back into basketball shape. I think we've learned we don't want to kind of throw them out there. We need both of them, but it's hard to say. You probably see some time in the G League for both of them, whether that's practice initially, because it's hard to practice here for either of them when our season gets going. It's just tough to get real practices in. And so that's why they're excited, we're excited to see them get their legs and wind underneath them there. But if you were to watch, certainly Clay at this point out working out, it looks, if you didn't know, you'd say, well, this guy looks like he can play now. But he hasn't played 5-on-5 in quite some time. And so that's up to the training staff. It's up to the individuals to see when that's the right time to come back. But we'll tell you, I mean, I just don't have the exact answer to those questions yet.
Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area. Your reaction to the Draymond KD interview? I mean, I know that there had to be some reaction. And wondering what it was and whether that's going to address the with Draymond.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I certainly can't live and not hear about it. Because I don't have all that stuff, and it wasn't, I just don't watch a lot of things, but heard about it for sure. It didn't really bother me, to be honest. I've had great history with Draymond. I got a great relationship with him, and I look at Kevin and Draymond, for that matter, as two unbelievable players. I really like both the guys. Love talking to them, being around them. They helped our team, our organization, Draymond 3, Kevin 2 championships. So it's going to take a lot more than that for me to really be bothered by it. So no, I don't view it as much from my side. And like you said, knowing Draymond, I've seen all kinds of different levels, and I love the guy. I really do. And same for Kevin. So I'm happy that they're buddies. That's all I care about.
Bob, over the weekend, Steph relayed a conversation that he had with you, asking about Ben Simmons' conversations like to be slightly without trying to get you fined in any way here, unless you want to.
I'd prefer not that rich.
The sense that you are always monitoring, you're always having conversations. Does that mean you are in any way engaged in trade discussions right now, or would you rule that out, like just in the immediate right now?
Yeah. So thanks for not teeing it up in a too difficult way. As far as trades, now, tomorrow, today, next week, those conversations are always happening. That's my job. That's the league. Right? That's the league we live in. But I would say to you, if you're looking for some clarity, I expect this roster to be our roster, certainly in the near term and probably heading into the season, and then we'll see how everything goes. But that's what we would do, Tim, anyway, separate from rumors, separate from thoughts. I think when our team looks like it needs a change, that's when we got to start being a little more urgent there. But at this point, I do like the team. I want to see what the team looks like as constructed. Been waiting for that for a long time, mostly because of injuries. And then as far as conversations, those are happening quite a bit all the time, and we'll continue to have conversations, but nothing imminent at all right now.
Bob, just to clarify, and Clay, real quickly, is the organization looking at a specific date in the year as to when he might be able to return?
Not a specific date, Nick. I think it's more about, so he's in camp starting tomorrow. He can do a lot. You just can't do contact. He's not doing 5-on-5. So then it'll progress. How does he feel doing that? And then I think the hardest part's going to be come sometime, maybe in December, maybe in January, I don't know when Clay probably says, I'm ready. I can play now. And that'll mean he'll have been playing 5-on-5, and we have to decide, do you let him do that for a couple more weeks? Or has he been doing that a couple weeks? But until we kind of know that part, I could guess a date just like you could, but it's just a guess, and I don't want to put him or us in a position of, we said the wrong thing, we said it too early. As soon as he can and as soon as it's safe, he'll be back.
And you touched on this a little bit after the draft, but having now built the rest of the roster, you know that you got to see how the rookies play and how they produce over the course of the season. But you built championship teams before. Do you walk into this season believing that this is a championship caliber roster?
Yeah, you know, that's not as good as what we had in 17-18, where it was you didn't take a genius to see how talented those teams were. But watching our guys the last couple of weeks, there's a good feeling about it. I like our depth more than we have had the last few years. I'm counting not 19, but 19, 20, 20, 21. Clearly, I think we have a more talented roster. And I guess if you look at a team, which any general manager does, healthy, yeah, I think we can compete with all these other teams. It doesn't mean we'll beat them, but I don't, in my role, or any, I think, person that does what I do, sometimes, if you're being honest, you say this roster can't beat that roster. If you're being honest, or maybe you all say that. I don't think this roster, I don't look around the league and say, look, we can't compete with that team. But if we're not healthy, I would say we have to be healthy. We are not so great that we can just have our best players out and still beat some of these really good teams in the West and the East. So, Nick, we got to see what that looks like. And that doesn't just mean the day Clay comes back. That probably means February, March, April, some games under his belt, James is back. Now what are we? And but I like the roster. I'm hopeful that with healthy we can compete with some of these really good teams.
Bob, don't think you've been asked about Kuminga and Moody since Summer League or what you've seen here just in the workouts. What's your, you don't know until you see them in games, but do you have further impressions of Kuminga and Moody, how they fit, where the positions might be, what the timeline might be?
Yeah, you saw Summer League. I went to Summer League. That's probably our best indication of watching them play. But since then, they've been in here, Tim. They've been working. The thing I'll say I like the most about both of those guys is their approach. They're young. They're super young. One's 18, one's 19. They look like and act like they want to be good. And I don't take that for granted. I mean, a lot of these players, when you draft them, you don't really know if they're going to work, or how they're going to prepare, especially this young, because you've only seen them for a little bit. I see Andre grabbing Moody, Kuminga. They had conversations with Draymond. Steph's been around. Clay, certainly. The best thing those guys have going for them is they get to watch champions work, meaning they're around Steph, Clay, Draymond, even Looney, our coaching staff. That's a little unique for lottery picks to walk into a team like that. The hard part for them is going to be opportunity, because they're not going to automatically get thrown out there. They're playing behind some pretty good players. But my favorite part, Tim, is that they seem like they have the right approach, which I always worry about. You never know. You draft it. You don't know how they're going to prepare. So my favorite part is kind of their mental part right now. And we'll see what they can do on the court if they get a chance.
Hey, Bob. Ian Killian with the San Francisco Chronicle. There was a lot of talk at the end of last season about Steph's window, and I'm just wondering, how much urgency do you feel, or do you think the team feels, about capitalizing on Steph at this stage of his career?
Yeah, and I mean, when you get a guy like that, you feel urgency really all the time. I mean, I felt urgency when I got the job, and you look at him as a player, as a guy, and you say, we got to give this guy a chance and surround him with as much talent as we can. And luckily, we were able to do that for hopefully a good chunk of his career. And we're gonna try to keep doing it. That's not going to change. I mean, he had one of his best seasons last year. I don't necessarily personally prescribe that he's tailing off, or he's only got a couple more years. I think he's got more than that. And especially if you all got to watch him in our facility, he's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest working guys on the team. And mentally, he's never been sharper. So everybody throws out Tom Brady, and you can kind of laugh at that, but athletes are playing a lot longer and a lot more effectively for many reasons. So as much as we want to do it this year, if it doesn't happen this year, it doesn't mean it can't the next year or the year after that. But we owe it to him, and I'll say that on the record. We really want to give him the best, and not just him, all these players. I mean, there's other players on the team too, and we want to give them a chance to win.